Let us join our hands to welcome our panelists for the session. Let me give the brief introduction of our faculty for the session's panelist. CA Yogesh Jain is a director in Beeline Capital Advisory, which is a well-known merchant banker as on date. He is a qualified chartered accountant having experience more than 17 years, and he has started his career with National Stock Exchange. He has also been instrumental to various professional persons for setting up NSC IFSC Limited at GIFT City. He is currently spreading various key verticals at Beelines Private Limited, including business development, client relationship, SME. I welcome you, sir. Another panelist for the day is Dr. Harish Ahuja, sir. He is a product head. He is a head of product and strategy development with NSC. He is responsible for NSC's listing, business development and growth of carbon and power market product portfolio. He has more than 2 decades of experience. Prior to this, his corporate journey started as civil servant of 1997 batch. He was posted as Joint Secretary, Department of Power of Government of Delhi. He was also Director, Finance and Law in Joint Electricity Regulatory Commission for Union Territory and State of Goa, Ministry of Power at Government of India. So with this wide experience, today we have with us Dr. Harish Ahuja, sir. Welcome you, sir. We have another panelist, CA Shilpang, sir. There is no need of introduction of him because he is known to us and based from Ahmedabad. But it is my duty and privilege to introduce him. He is doing the valuation work since 2007-8. He is a registered valuer. He is advisor to the various IPO which came to BSE NSE. He is also corporate advisor to various multinational companies. He has delivered many lectures on SME IPO. Currently, he is also a co-chairman of our valuation group of our Ahmedabad branch. We welcome you, sir. And our moderator, one of the moderator, Ashish Shah, sir. He is a mechanical engineer, started his career with Hindustan Petroleum. He is a Wealth First got the first SME listing in 2016 and migrated to main board 2021. So he is heading the Wealth First and he has experience more than 7 years. So I welcome Ashish sir. I request our chairperson ma'am to do the honor by giving memento to Dr. Harish Ahuja sir. I request chairperson ma'am to do the honor. Let's put hands together in welcoming. I request ma'am to do the honor with CA Yogesh Jain sir with memento. Welcome Yogesh sir. I request our beloved RCM Vikas Jain sir to give memento to our CA Shilpang Waria sir. I request RCM sir to do the honor, our moderator CA Ashish Shah sir. Welcome sir. Now I request moderator CA Ashish Shah sir to start the panel discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I think post-lunch syndrome are there, looks like. So let us wake up. I think it is one of the most important in India growth story this sector is. And I see a lot of young chartered accountants here, budding chartered accountants. This is one of the area where you can definitely help the corporate India in handholding lot of things. I think that whatever times we are talking here, you will come to know. It's one of the immense opportunity for your fraternity, for your business. I'm talking about it. Try to get whatever best you can get out of this, and then we can have questions also during the conversation as well as after that. I think we have a most eminent person of the NSE is here, Dr. Harish Ahuja. Amazing career. He's, I think, from a government civil servant. His own career path is very impressive. I think we'll try to get maximum out of the exchange here. Yogesh is a very well-known beeline merchant banker, and your own Shilpang Bhai is a handholding person from which you also can learn. I think let us start formally panel discussion. We can convert it into informal. Let us go informal. All are eminent people here. Dr. Saab, it has been almost 11 years. The NSE Emerge Exchange has been there. And I think one of the most progressive decision government has given or SEBI has done is the emerging exchange. Can you talk something, what is the roadmap happened in last 11 years and what is the 5 years? You look down here. Two, I will like to add something for the all of us. India story everybody is talking about. And you are sitting at one of the most reputed exchange at a very eminent position. What is India's story out of the syllabus and how we can benefit in coming 10 years with the NSE help?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I think this question set the context for the conference here. Is it okay? I'm audible? Yeah. So I think this question has broad contours, but I'll be talking more with the numbers. Being engineer, always I try to be more objective in terms of my answers. And here comes my answer. I think I personally believe in MSME story of India. The data speaks for itself. You know, if you see this country, as on date, around 1.67 crores MSME are listed, registered. I would say not listed, registered with Udyam portal of Government of India. Around 95% are small scale, less than 1 crore of capital investment, as per the definition of Government of India. Around 3%, around 4 lakh, with a less investment of 10 crores. They're small, medium scale. Sorry, micro is 1 crore, is small. 95% are micro, 3% are small with 10 crore investment, and 1% less are with 50 crore investment are medium. Our focus today we talk about SME only, where 10 crore plus into 50 crore investment is made. Now, if we talk about overall small and medium enterprises, 5 lakh plus companies are registered on their portal, doing a decent revenue, doing a good contribution. Now, these companies are contributing roughly 60% of GDP, 50% of export income, and 11 to 14 crores of job. This is the mammoth size of MSME in terms of their contribution to GDP, export, and jobs. But if you see the listed company space, which we are present or BSE present, is only 800 companies. Only 800 companies, only 800. Even if I count 1% of this 5 lakh plus SMEs, I'm not talking micro also, 5,000, we are at 800. So there's a scope of at least 9x to 10x per annum listing in NSE and BSE cumulative. And I think when I talk about NSE being a premier exchange, we are targeting at least 5x growth this year and 10x growth next year.
Oh, 5 years.
Yes, we are targeting that, and numbers speak about itself. My teammate Chetan was briefing me, and I know these numbers. Last year we did total listing of roughly 62 in an entire year.
Wow.
This year in 4 months we already crossed 33 companies. So I think, and the momentum is still building, you know, and the kind of red herring prospectus, Yogesh will compliment here me. The kind of numbers we are seeing, I think 5x is not difficult for us. I hope I could answer any, or you like to add more?
Yes, it means every 3 days you are getting one listing ceremony, if I am not wrong. No?
Yes, Yes.
It was once in quarter when I got listed.
So no, let me share a number. So our average listing size, I'll come to number later on, specific to how much we raised, but just average listing issue size used to be around 17 crore. It is still the same, but we never got 100 plus crore issues. This year, 3 weeks back or 4 weeks back, we listed 100 crore plus company also.
Okay, great.
So I think the number speaks for themselves. Our target is, can we increase by 5x? And next year 10x, and it's an immense opportunity. Everyone, if they're chartered accountant, founders, company secretaries, or investment wealth advisor, let me tell you why we do believe in the theory of and growth story of MSME. Just because of one reason: when MSME raise the capital, the conversion into employment is very fast. Unlike main board companies, big companies, when they raise the company, they first pay out their VCs, they pay out their bankers, then they think of technology, and last comes the main manpower. But when it comes to MSME, they mainly raise the capital, and first thing they do is they build the asset, which is a definite contribution to the nation growth, and hire people. Immediate employment generation. So I think that's the priority of India also, and NSE is the premier exchange also. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I think, Shilpang bhai, you have been so many years with some companies. As always, small companies before listing has a lot of doubts. Small companies when we want to go. And apprehension before they get listed. I would request you to provide the details on how a company's journey, when you advisor in everything you do, preparedness, themselves, apprehension, and the opportunity for the young budding CS, as sir says, 800 companies are listed and they are having a 10x, 5x is their own target. I think a tremendous requirement of the professionals is required. So can you elaborate on it?
SME IPO is a very important journey. Hello. Yes. SME IPO is very important journey for any SME companies. And before we approach the SME companies, we first need to understand how SME companies are working up to the now. Basically, all the SME companies are generally working as a owner-centric. They have constraint in their financial management. They don't understand exactly the finance and valuations. Their corporate governance are not so strong. So basically, all these things needs to be understood. And first and foremost things, who can play the important role is the chartered accountant. Because the chartered accountant is the trustable partner of the SME company. And generally, SME company doesn't have the full-time CFO. So basically, they trust on their chartered accountant. So once me and Yogesh bhai go and meet to any companies, so after we leave the office, they immediately call their chartered accountant that whether what they are saying is correct or not. So this is the chartered accountant who can play, because ultimately it's the mindset. Change in the mindset needs to be carried out when they move to the SME companies. So at that time, the mindset of the promoters needs to be prepared. Promoters needs to be prepared that what are the do's and don'ts for the SME companies, and we need to prepare first of all them for that, and that is very important part where the chartered accountant can play the important role. We cannot say brainwashing, mentoring. So basically, there are certain questions that promoters generally raise that if I will come to the SME IPO platform, right now I am running my business as a owner-centric. Why I should share my financials to anybody? Why I should be answerable to the investors? Why I should be answerable to the public? So basically, they don't want to, all the business, each and every smallest part of the business are being handled by the owner only. So they are not interested into the systemization. Basically, there is a fear factor for them that for moving to the IPOs, because IPO, it is not only the IPO, own mindset needs to be changed, and promoter needs to be make ready for the value creation game. It is SME IPO is not only the fundraising, but it's the value creation game. So definitely their mindset should be made ready, and it is a very tough task.
I believe that is one of the most difficult job to convert a promoter, entrepreneur,
Yes.
into going to the next level of his journey.
Because promoters, if once understand the story, then they will become smart than us also.
Exactly. I agree. Because he's an entrepreneur, obviously.
Yes, yes.
Yogesh ji, as a merchant banker and a renowned, you are closely involved with companies like Shilpang Bhai and get them listed on the platform. How do you see the companies performing and investor participation over the last 10 years? And what do you see coming, like sir said, 5x, so unka target hai. So what do you see for future?
Great. So I think first of all, I would like to thank CA Institute to give me the opportunity to share my thoughts in front of all CA community. Obviously, while talking with CA friends, obviously I feel very homely being a chartered accountant. So I think Ashish bhai, in the last 10 years, lot of things have changed. In fact, definitely SME has per se matured to a huge extent. Apart from that, I think overall economy per se has, I think, done a lot of developments in terms of now people are moving towards organized sector. We have got a stable government since 10 years, and hopefully for the next 5 more years. Infrastructure development is happening. I think after GST is there, a lot of organized business are coming in. A lot of, I think, that's very much witnessed through the GST collection numbers. If you see last month, it was like almost more than 1,65,000 crores, which is increasing day by day. So I think when we meet the companies, almost every company are under expansion. They are looking for the growth, lot of JV opportunities, tie-ups, technical tie-ups are happening. So overall economy has grown to a huge extent. If you see online transactions, I think that's almost 86% of the GDP. Even if we see the developed countries like US, they don't have more than 40-45%, especially after UPI has started. So I think a lot of organized sectors are coming in, and overall as an economy, I feel that we have reached from 1 trillion to let's say 3.7 trillion in last 10 years. And what I can see is the next run up from the 3 to 10 trillion will be very fast, will not take more 10 years. That's again my personal view. And SMEs will be the major contributor in the growth of the overall economy. Ultimately, because every big company or industry, if you see, they are very much dependent on SME companies. Whether we talk about automobiles, whether we talk about engineering, logistics, I think every sector are dependent on them. So, and again, every leaders which we are talking about today, they were also once then when they started, they were also SMEs. And when they got listed, they were SMEs, and yes, today the opportunity we have on the NEC Emerge platform, as a SME, they can now get listed. So overall capital market also, if you see 2013, 10 saal pehle, it was like at 6,000 points Nifty, and today it's almost 3 times. So the biggest, I think, development which has happened, Ashish bhai, I feel is that lot of household income have started coming to, disposable income started coming to capital markets through organized route of mutual funds. So pehle they were used to invest in FDs or let's say many other schemes, gold mein vagare, property, but now mutual fund has become one of the most preferred investment for them. So overall economic size has increased. We were earlier dependent on the FIAs. कि FIAs आते हैं तो market बढ़ गया, and then once they exit, markets has crashed. So uska pura benefit, if you see, is going to the listed companies. And SME, what we try to bring the companies, that if you are on the platform, you will be the beneficiary of all this funding and coming in. So almost every month, if you see, more than 15,000 crores is coming only through mutual funds. Demat account 2013-14 में, but almost let's say only 2%, like 2 crore accounts थे पहले अपने पास. Now these are almost 11 crores. That also, if you see, the equity penetration in India is not even 8%. As compared to the developed economies like US, wherein 60% equity penetration is there. So मैं तो सर ये बोलता हूँ कि ये 8% से सिर्फ 15% भी अगर हो गया, so अभी 10 साल में 3 गुना हुआ मार्केट, so यहाँ से कितना जा सकता है? So all the beneficiary will be SME companies only, and no wonder last 3-4 साल में the kind of development we have seen in SME market, which we have witnessed. हमारे क्लाइंट में we are able to see the kind, मतलब जो कंपनी आज से मे बी 3-4 साल पहले 10 करोड़ का IPO लेकर आए थे, 3 साल में, 2 साल 3 साल में उनका प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स 10 करोड़ हो रहा है सर. So that level of growth we are able to witness. Not only that, even on the investor side, पहले when we started segment, मतलब again I was fortunate to be part of NEC Emerge team. सो वो टाइम पे 13-14 में व्हेन वी यूज्ड टू गो टू मार्केट, वो टाइम पे सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन था कि इन्वेस्टर्स कौन रहेंगे, हु विल पुट मनी इन माय कंपनी. तो वो टाइम पे इन्वेस्टर्स वर टिपिकली सम ऑफ द रिटेल, सम ऑफ द HNI इन्वेस्टर्स. बट यस, नाउ 10 years डाउन द लाइन द काइंड ऑफ कंपनीज वी आर गेटिंग आर वेरी मेच्योर्ड. आप पहले 5 साल की कंपनी देखिए और अभी लास्ट 3 साल की अगर आप कंपनी देखेंगे, सो द क्वालिटी ऑफ कंपनीज हैज इंक्रीज ड्रास्टिकली. So as very good investors have started coming in, lot of marquee names we are able to see now. 2-3 साल में you can see lot of QIP participation is there. FIAs are participating not only in India but yes across the globe. So many countries now we are getting inquiries that they want to invest in the India SME growth story. So I think 10 years we did a lot of progress, Ashish bhai, and I think this is just a beginning, I feel. Okay. Yes, please.
Great. I think very encouraging words for the. It is happening. Dr. Sir, just numbers, you are great in number. So how many companies are listed mota in NSE? And what is the market cap or something can you throw? And the another question is, we have NSE index. You throw some light on that, sir.
So precise number is 347 on NSE and 447 on BSE, roughly 794. And the kind of capital 347 company have raised on NSE is roughly 6,500 crore in past 11 years, but the cumulative market cap of this company is around 75,000 crore. I'm talking about NSE. Now come to BSE. BSE around 447 companies. Why I'm talking BSE? Because I think at some place I think we are exchange agnostic. We are representing MSME right now. And both the platforms are equally good. Having said so, they have our own eligibility criteria and our own benchmarks. Now this 447 company has raised around 5,600 crores and though this market cap in BSE is gone up to 81,000 crore. The good part of this NSE emerge or BSE is they can also migrate to main board where the Zomato and LIC and Adani's of the world play. So, you know, this separate criteria will come to later on, but in NSE, roughly 135, 136 company have migrated, and BSE around 178 company have migrated. So, getting entry from here, performing, taking some, you know, understanding the market, they can also migrate. I have just one point to add here, which is very important, is what Yogesh said. A very important point. In fact, the thematic index which we have worked upon, which is a kind of a benchmark, a barometer of SME performance last 11 years. There's an NSE SME thematic index, which has around 147 companies and around 19 industries are there. So a different capital good, infra, pharma, manufacturing have different weightage, starting with 19% of, you can say, this capital goods and then pharma and then manufacturing. This particular index is performing roughly 30% IRR. Year on year, it is giving 37%, whereas Nifty has not given more than 16%. Mid cap is giving less than 20, 25. Small cap again 30%. But SME in thematic index is giving 37%. That's why what Yogesh Bhai said, many people are only focusing upon SME emerge and the subscription level is now touching 30 plus, 30x, 35x. In some cases, we got 107x, you know. So this is the buzz being created in NSE emerge. I mean, now लोग ये पूछते हैं मुझसे, सर और कुछ मत बताइए, IPO में allotment कैसे हो, you know? So हम कहते हैं भैया वो हम decide नहीं कर सकते. It's very system driven. So this is the kind of buzz SME emerge has created. Thank you.
Great. I think it is just, as you said, it's a beginning. All of we all are agreeing very great. I think 37% IRR, I think this question is going to help me next week to make our money also. See, 37% में आपका 2.25 साल में पैसा डबल हो गया. Yes. What else you need? और वो 7 साल से सर बोल रहे हैं उनका इंडेक्स है, तो 7 साल में 8 गुना पैसा हो जाता था. We are losing opportunity. Absolutely. I think it is amazing. And 150,000 crore market cap for both the exchange of SME is also a very large section. I think mutual fund also SEBI will allow them to go to SMEs and all. Great. I think it is I think numbers are very eye-opener. Yogeshji, what is the process of SME listing from start to end and how much time it takes for the whole process to get completed?
So I'm sure that all are professionals, so maybe, yeah, okay. नहीं, not one or two. In fact, when we talk about, I think जब एक one to one बैठते हैं तो 15-20 की लिस्ट साथ में निकलती है कि at least इनको first round में करना है. So anyway, I think a lot of CA friends, we keep on meeting one-on-one. But anyways, for the benefit of all, I would like to elaborate a process. So I think when we meet the company, once we understand on the, the process part and everything. So when we start a process, so primarily as per SEBI requirement, there are certain guidelines which we have to follow, which includes SEBI ICDR guidelines, then Companies Act, then exchange guidelines. So we have to comply with all of them. So in a nutshell, if I have to say, as a merchant banker, first we do the due diligence of the company. So primarily there are three types of due diligence which we do. One is the financial due diligence. Then we have a legal due diligence, for which again we will also appoint one lawyer as a part of process. Then we will have a secretarial diligence since the inception of the company. So if company 15 साल पुरानी है, so since 15 years we will do all the compliances and the due diligence part. So as an outcome of that, we make a DRSP, we call it draft red herring prospectus, which runs around, let's say, more than 300, 400 pages, which includes overall all the information about the company, about the management, about the business part, any litigations which are going on. So basically, usko simple language में पूरी company की कुंडली भी हम लोग बोलते हैं. So everything about the company, investor can get in that particular document. And then again, we help the company comply with all the requirements, which includes having the KMPs like CFO, the company secretary. Then restructuring of the board, we help them, wherein we have to appoint some independent directors. So which is typically 1/3 of the board needs to be independent directors along with one woman directors. So all these compliances we help them to complete again, and after let's say around 2 to 3 months, we are able to file the document on the stock exchange. And once the stock exchange gets the application, again they will have their own evaluation and diligence going in place, and we will have NSE team visiting the company factory premises and the registered office, again as per their part of diligence, physical site visit they do. So once that part is completed, we get an approval, and once we get approval, we do the marketing of the IPO. Then ultimately the company gets listed with, let's say, we can open the IPO with 3 to 4 days notice in the market, and once the company is listed, in the next 6 days we can list the company, so which is now reducing to 3 days, which SEBI has recently come out with. So all put together, if I have to sum up everything, around 4 to 5 months is a decent period on an average wherein we can say the company can get listed. There are cases जो हमने शायद 2 महीने में भी companies को list किया है. Again, that depends on कितना fast process documentation हो सकता है. But on an average, I think 4 to 5 months is a decent expectation of any company as a processor.
4 to 5 months to go to the India's premier exchange. I think it is a
listing till the company gets the fund in account.
I think it is amazing. I personally is a beneficiary of it. So can you throw how the NSE is helping all these things? And because अब सबको लगता है कि भाई exchange बहुत बड़ी जगह है, बहुत time लगता है. I think it is other way around in fact.
No, in fact, Yogesh has very swiftly pointed out the number of stages where NSE work on basically, frankly speaking, like these numbers, many people don't these numbers. And I like to just add one point on Yogesh and then we'll come to our question. The unfortunate part is this entire 6 to 7 months, so there one step is a company approach us, let's say NSE, then we connect with the right merchant bankers, then merchant banker interact with them, sign their mandate, and then they prepare the offer document, I'm doing the Kundli and all whatever they said, and then they come out, on the RHP is filed, and then we approve, and then the listing. I just like to ask, there are multiple stages. Where do you think the most time take place? I can ask the audience, August audience here, where do you think in 7 months, which is the stage where most of the time goes? Is it approaching, the company approaching us, then we connecting with a merchant banker, or merchant banker, the founder making up their mind to file the kind of sign the mandate, and then from mandate to offer document to DRHP, and then all this, So my question is, just make a guess. Which stage takes the largest time? Any guesses here? Anyone? Please.
Time consuming.
Mindset, very good. I'm in the second stage. Anyone else? Document drafting. Okay. Anyone else? So I think you're right, but you'll be surprised. Mindset change. What Shilpang Bhai said, Mindset change the largest amount of time. Out of this is 6-7 months, if you see, if the promoter is diligent in terms of his corporate governance and filing the right documents with the ROC and all, they will not take much time. It is a mindset change. Most of the time goes in mindset change. Now come to NSE, which is your question answer. First of all, we also build the awareness. We also try to connect the right founders with the right merchant bankers. And many a times, our job is primarily this particular companies in this bracket, in this revenue, which merchant banker can do both the jobs in terms of giving him the right valuation, in the terms of changing the mindset. Because still he is in confused, still should I go or not? I think this is the biggest contribution NSE is now like to make, because we meet so many founders, we understand which stage he is in terms of making the decision, and here comes our swift change or Midas touch. This kind of event awareness program we do very rapidly now, and the two additions which we have made in last 2 years is, one, we are very active with the state governments. Now I know specifically, and our contribution to that granular level, where we know that Gujarat and Maharashtra is contributing 70% of IPO. So my focus is definitely not here, because momentum is there. And I think there should be a big round of applause for Gujarati people here and Gujarat here. So for us, the capital formation from where it's not coming is, you'll be unhappy to note that, but Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Punjab are lowest in capital formation in last 2 years. So we are not getting much issues coming from there, be it main board or SMEs. Surprising, Odisha is such a prosperous state, and they are signing 3 lakh worth of, or 4 lakh crore worth of MOUs every year. And so many factories are going, but the ecosystem which is supporting them in terms of NCBs, SMEs are not listed. So what the change of stance is, now we are approaching the Secretary MSME. We are doing focus round of meetings with this 30 or 40 promoters which have achieved the revenue of 35 crores or 40 crores. And then NSE emerged team like me or my team member like Chetan here. We interact with the founder in very close group, and we try to change the mindset then and there. And we try to get the expression of interest then and there. And then we try to sign mandate by the end of within 24 hours. Because many a times this very focused session where every question is answered by state representative or by NSE officials or CS like, Yogesh or some other people, it really changed mindset, And I'll be happy to note that last 10th August, we did an event with NSE Emerge, Secretary MSME sitting beside us, top-notch chartered accountant, 2-3 old founders which have done good job with us in terms of listing. We called 20 people, 19 precisely in Odisha, big notch, starting from 500 crore revenue to let's say 30 crore revenue, minimum was 30 crore. We got 19 expression of interest that day. By the end of day, we signed 5 mandates, which had not been achieved in last 10 years. We achieved it in 1 day. So this is the impact NSE is making. Frankly speaking, our job is basically helping them to understand the number, what can you play as a growth story, how a merchant banker can help you, putting in the right bracket, and creating so many awareness campaign. And now, 2 more things I'm doing is, we are creating a fund. So Government of India has created a fund, Shri Fund, but state government has not created a daughter fund. Can this daughter fund can be channelized into your company or Yogesh company or the merchant banker company, whatever, we are trying to do that also. So these are small contribution we are making. In terms of timelines, we have made mandatory to approve the issues once they are filed the offer document in 45 days, 45 days. If they don't do it, either they have to withdraw it, or we have to reject it, or we have to approve it also. So within 45 days, if the DRHP is filed, we try to give the sanction. And everything is transferred. There's a dashboard. You can go and watch your progress on day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Great, sir. And I think you are doing great for Odisha and other states to have an inclusive capital market in the country, not only one area. Shilpa is the most important, and everybody knows, before going to IPO, what is the role of an advisor, CA, before the company goes to IPO? What are the planning, structuring, importance of the companies, including role of CA, particular peer review and everything? Can you elaborate to all of us?
Role of chartered accountant is very most important. Role of, I can say, role of professional. So if I can say for entire document and for entire activity, as Yogesh Bhai has said, secretarial activity, financial due diligence, restated financials from the peer review auditor, almost more than 50% work can be handled by the professionals. So we can majorly categorize as the secretarial work, financial due diligence, and restated account preparation. But as a consultant, if I say, so basically what I as an advisor work, basically we work with the companies 6 to 12 months down the line, because we understand that before bringing the companies into the platform, basically there are a lot of homework needs to be carried out. Because we are in the game of the value unlock. So before we unlock the value, we need to create the value into the company. So basically, we first of all need to understand the business model of the company. We need to understand the legal structure, capital structure, because there may be number of organization, because as a part of the tax planning, owner may have one proprietorship firm, one partnership firm, one LLP, one private limited company. They are doing the similar business activity and all the business, similar business on all the legal structures. So we need to make one legal structure when we can create a value in the one basket, because ultimately we need to unlock the value, and if that one basket where we want to unlock, if that basket that doesn't have the value, then ultimately the owners will not have a benefit in the future. And we also make understand the promoter how to prepare their business plan. So basically, first of all, after the IPO story is not over, because value creation happens only if there is a business growth is there. So promoters needs to be understand about the 5-year business plan, because certain companies I have seen, certain companies have come into the SME IPO and their even CMA data is not properly prepared, because promoters were not properly trained and make understand that how the whole platform work and how the value creation should be carried out. So professionals can play most important role for the same, and the entire the activity, pre-IPO activity is most important activity in my understanding, and that needs to be carried out as a business model structuring, legal structuring, capital structuring, normalization of the financial statement, preparation of the business plan and projection. So basically entire vision of the promoter should be clear for the next 3 to 5 years, and that is very important activity which must be carried out before as a pre-IPO activity. That is my opinion.
Of things you do, mentally, physically, paperwork and all. Absolutely. Can you think of the quality? I mean, there is a independent director you mentioned in your, how does the board constitution helps the promoter or the whole process, and what is your view? I think all the three can answer this. Independent director, I think that is the only place where the minority shareholder, somebody is there. That's the way the idea is there, I think so.
So basically, as per my Yogesh bhai will also answer,
both are.
but independent director, it is very difficult to have a professional independent director.
Shilpa, you are doing this whole process, and when you say to the promoter, कि भैया आपकी कंपनी में तो 2 या 3 इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर रखना पड़ेगा, तो what happens and how you do that?
Actually, promoters are really reluctant. Promoters are reluctant because they fear why I should disclose my whole business plan to the outsiders, why I should invite any independent. They don't see independent director as a professional advisor, because ultimately the role of independent director as a professional advisor needs to be seen. And I think chartered accountants, company secretaries, all professional can play most important role.
Perfect.
But there is a fear factor because the SME companies are not run exactly in the manner it should be run. So there is a fear also among the independent directors whether I should come onto the board or not. So whether I will face any issues in the future if I become an independent director of any SME companies. So right now we are really facing issues to bring the professional independent director into the SME companies. And I think Yogesh bhai will also his view.
Can you share your some examples?
I agree with Shalpang bhai. I think practically these are the apprehensions coming because immediately people are not very comfortable outsider coming in the business. But at the same time, what I would like to share my experience, like when we see last 2-3 years, I was mentioning that a lot of professional investors have started coming in as an investor in the SME companies. So normally this is I think one of the initial filtration, I would say the checklist point, which they always look for it, ki is the company person-oriented company, let's say person-dependent company, कि एक person चला रहा है company, लाला company ऐसे चल रहा है कि professionally driven company है. So first and foremost, they look at the overall team of the company की professional driven team होनी चाहिए. Second thing, आप company में let's say when you see जो promoter ने बोल दिया वो final है. There is nobody who can question the promoter. But independent director is something who can tell promoter also कि boss this is not right. They are basically independent उनको इसलिए बोलते हैं because they are the representative of the public. आज वो 1/3 या let's say 50% board what we say independent directors, so eventually they are representing public. So अगर independent directors हैं, if the professional independent director is there, definitely it adds lot of value in terms of the investors' confidence. Also, I think we have seen, in fact, आशीष भाई का जब IPO आया था, वो time I was with NSE and वो time पे the kind of board which they have come up with, I think I was very surprised कि पहली बार मैंने किसी कंपनी में ऐसा बोर्ड देखा है. So, in fact, the same thing we were discussing I think 2 days back. So that definitely had lot of impact. So आशीष भाई आप भी थोड़ा सा experience share करिए आपका.
So when the DRHP comes to you, then you can do you look at the quality of the board criteria.
No, I think Yogesh answered very well. सिंपल भाषा में समझाना चाहूँगा मैं आपको. I think you need to acknowledge that 1.5 crore या 1.6 crore में if 95% company have remained micro, there must be some reason. If some company has grown to 3%, which are small, and some company has grown to less than 1%, what is the reason? So this SME journey or IPO journey is not happens when it happens. From the day one founder knows that this is my aim. Like every tech entrepreneur, he knows मुझे IPO करना है, मुझे VC का पैसा लाना है. I think when a business gets started, everyone like to become a Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk और Father Ambani. But कितने लोग उस mindset पे काम करके सोचते हैं कि यार मुझे ना IPO करना होगा तो मुझे 7 डायरेक्टर चाहिए होंगे या मुझे एक प्रोफेशनल टीम चाहिए होगी. Even today, I met someone or yesterday I met someone, they are doing the revenue of 200 plus crore, but their mindset of controlling company is not changing, So coming back to Yogesh, in fact, I think Ashish bhai jo yahan baithe hain, he must have this mindset, company ko list karna hai. Maybe he's aware because of that, because he's a CA. So if the founder has that mindset, he will always try to put a good advice in the beginning and the right board of directors. And definitely we see the independent board of directors. It makes a real impact when we assess the intangible things, apart from tangible things of profit, EBITDA, revenue, team, vision, project size. We also see intangible thing, which is a touch point, very high touch point, independent board of directors. So we definitely see this.
I think that is a very important role independent director plays in any company or anywhere. It is you can say he is your well-wisher, and as well as he is a watchfulness. It helps to any company. That is my personal opinion. And for CA, this is one of the opportunity where you can become an independent director as one of the extra job, knowing some other businesses, and as revenue also. That's why impressed. Okay, one being a Gujarati, we all know apna kya. So let us be very clear. There are three people in this whole process: promoter, company, and investor. ये तीनों के फायदे क्या है? I think this question is to everybody. Please.
I think, again, I'll come back to the very basic. I think when a company gets listed, all get benefited. I would not say that one issue is disproportional to investor or company or promoter. I think they are interwoven, So the way I see it, and the new eligibility criteria of NSE which has come, they talk about the same. But let's talk about a company, promoter, and, and the investor. और यहीं पर सारी maths है, And Ashish ji, ये बहुत अच्छा question है. So this is the kind of googly I was talking to you. But it's a very, very interesting question, in fact, and I like to give extempore on this. I think the journey of a promoter begins by treating company as a baby of his own, So when he lists the company or when he takes the first outside capital, he's giving this baby to share with someone else also, So this journey from sharing my baby with someone else is a very profound transformation, and that's why the mindset change happens. It takes time. So when he is handing over this company to investor, he knows that now they are also taking care of baby and they also need some pie of the business. So मुझे लगता है कि चाहे promoter हो चाहे company हो, जब तक ये balance नहीं रहेगा पैसे कमाने का या पैसा लाने का, because if 95% company remain micro and they are not growing to as small or medium for that matter, they are missing the blood in the body because पैसा नहीं है. When IPO gets listed, company gets money for the project, employee get the ESOPs or higher salaries or better perks. They get the professional management, they bring the corporate governance. So company को तो बहुत फायदा होता है. Company को बहुत फायदा होता है. Where they lose, Where they lose is maybe here comes the promoter. सबसे important point मैं कर रहा हूँ. Many time promoter and most of the promoter Yogesh will agree with me or Shivak will agree with me और आप भी agree करेंगे जब आपने किया होगा कि यार मुझे valuation अच्छा नहीं मिल रहा है, you know. I'm leaving more on the table. अच्छा वो he will never be happy, you know. He thinks if company is getting, investor is getting, I mean this is the priority founder see, you know. And third, मुझे क्या मिल रहा है यार, मैं थोड़ा और वेट कर लेता तो वैल्यूएशन अच्छा मिल जाता, you know. So I think this is the order of priority one should keep. Company should definitely get. Investor, if you not share with the investor, they will not invest regularly. And they should put something on the table. So initially it appears that founder loses, but in the long run, founder is the biggest beneficiary. अगर बच्चा grow करके हार्वर्ड पढ़ता है, and he become one of the Jeff Bezos, you know, who is earning. So I think founder has to sometime long-term vision. So in the order of priority, company definitely gets much of the share. Investor definitely get if his founder is keeping something on the table. And the third, the priority, founder also get in the long term. In the beginning, he may think that I'm not getting. Most of the founder think, यार मुझे loss हो गया. There's no such, it's the notional loss, you know. They are getting a lot of money, but notional loss. But in the long run, they get. I think I could answer your question.
Beautifully. And one of the person, what you said is here only. Just to add, this question, whenever Yogesh fits me, I say that today मेरा क्या कुछ जल्दी करा दिया. See, because 7 years, I do not appreciate myself, but the investor has made like 11 times money. The investors, the investors' return is 11 times in 7 years. It's a 47% CAGR. तो मुझे लगता है कुछ ज़्यादा छोड़ दिया अपने टेबल पे. But it is now not that. Let me tell you, because 75% is your asset, na. It also grows. No regrets.
So आशीष भाई का IPO I think 8 crores something कुछ था.
हाँ, 8.5 करोड़.
8.5 करोड़ का IPO था and last year profit 20 crores था सर का.
What's the market cap, sir?
Market cap is more than
350 करोड़.
350 crore का market cap. So I think that's the true win-win scenario for I think जो सर हरीश सर बता रहे थे. True win-win for company, the promoters because 75% is owned by him only. Yes. So इनका wealth almost let's say 250 crores plus हो गया सर का. And obviously investors who have invested made almost 11 times.
Yeah.
So that's a win-win for all.
Never regrets. And I think I was they invited me as one of the beneficiary of the whole process. But madam बोलते हैं आप compare बन जाओ. That's why I am in the wrong place in fact. Anyway, I think a lot of people has worried about compliances pre-IPO, post-IPO. Pre तो आपने बता दिया. तो Yogesh, can you throw some light because you handled for till the couple of years.
Correct. So I think compliance part में that's the biggest, I think one of the biggest apprehension for almost every company. कि listing already income tax है, GST है, employees के act हैं, इतने सारे regulation कर रहे हैं follow. आप ऊपर से NSE से भी कहाँ पे आप add कर रहे हो? So that's always an apprehension for the companies. But again, practically if you see, again as a CA when you see one-on-one what all compliances are there. So अगर आप क्या बोलते private limited के compliances भी अगर आप कर रहे हैं, so you don't see much difference between the listed company and the private limited company. Definitely few things are added. So but overall if you see as a per se, main board companies जो compliances करती है, as comparatively when we talk about SME companies, so almost 70% compliances are not applicable for SMEs. So I think while the guidelines were being framed when we used to have a discussion with the regulators, so तो उनका एक like the clear focus was कि we don't want to give an additional burden to the SME companies. So the guidelines are being framed in such a way that it's not a burden. At the same time, investors will keep on getting the right updates about the company. So coming specific points, I think as a limited company, आप जो already compliances कर रहे हैं, as a private limited, few additional compliances are applicable. Like main board company में we have to give quarterly reporting, financial reporting, but in SMEs you have to give half-yearly reporting. So that's I think biggest I think relaxation for companies because आज unlisted company में मार्च के number final होते हैं, सितंबर अक्टूबर में. तो but then अभी now let's say when you are a listed company you have to give in 60 days. So I think those all things need to be geared up. Apart from that, the biggest I would say the relaxation of not doing much compliance is corporate governance is not applicable for SMEs till the time you are on SME platform. So that's again an advantage. And again, NSE has made it very easy for us. They have an online portal called NEEPS portal, wherein periodic information like shareholders information, directors list, then investor complaints need to be reported on the periodic basis. So I think compliance-wise, what the minimum requirement which SEBI has stipulated is we need to have a company secretary. So our right company secretary is sufficient enough to complete all the compliances. Ind AS भी applicable नहीं है. So Ind AS once you come on the main board after 3 years, then it is applicable. So corporate governance भी तभी applicable है. So I think a lot of relaxations has been given when we talk about SMEs. ICDR guidelines maybe there are so many chapters which are not applicable. So I think in a nutshell, compliance is never a burden. In fact, there are companies जो शायद 2 करोड़ का IPO, 5 करोड़ का IPO भी लेकर आई हैं, जो कि लेट्स से नॉर्मल आपके क्लाइंट से बहुत छोटी कंपनीज है. They are also doing compliances very well. So I think that's should not be taken any burden of that. So I think anything point you want to add, Shilpang bhai?
One company secretary needs to be kept.
One CS is required and
CS
additional CS is sufficient enough. Yes.
CFO needs. So over a cost part, I think we can say yearly 10 to 12 lakh cost can be the compliance cost per annum broadly. Additional compliance cost nearly about 10 to 12 lakh per annum.
But it has inherent lot of advantages. I think that cost.
Yes, 100%.
In fact, it's an investment.
100%.
That is the way you should
Obviously.
convince your client. Shilpa, I think before just going to the promoter you meet, that is your first stage, you come to the whole process. He said, okay, I will need capital to grow, blah, blah, blah. He said, why don't they have a P, private equity, which is a very buzzword nowadays, and वो भी newspaper पढ़ता है सब. And another is IPO. How you trade off? What can we discuss something on it? Because आप लोगों को भी सब client PE लेके आओ, PE लेके बात होती होगी. So can we, because you must have this question couple of times faced.
Yes. 100% that question is always faced. And before addressing... Hello. So before addressing that question, we generally before try to understand the business plan of the company for next 5 years. Because if we bring the biggest issue is that, first of all, we try to understand what is the reason the company wants to bring the P. It is for they want to bring the good name. So if they want to bring the good name, they have certain ticket size. Below that ticket size, they will not come, number one. Thereafter, biggest issue is the exit. Suppose if company doesn't have any potential to bring the main board IPO within next 3 to 4 years, then definitely how we will give the exit to that P. That is the biggest issue. Because if we say the SME IPO, so SME IPO is a value creation game where we say, as sir has rightly said, our biggest issue we face while convincing the SME IPO is on the valuation ground. So we need to convince them that SME IPO is a valuation project for 3 to 5 years. Well, you have your correct valuations on the board after 3 years when you migrate to the main board. So at that time, when they will bring the private equity, so they definitely exit route is pre-decided. And if exit can't be given through the main board IPO, because private equity investor has always the higher expectation than the retail investors. And because they carry the risk, they carry the risk of the liquidity. So definitely those liquidity they don't hold. And if exit, their exit is possible only through the main board IPO, because SME IPO has always their own limitations as far as the valuation is concerned. So if we bring the private equity and if we give the exit through the SME IPO, then I think that model is not workable. And definitely, yes, private equity is always, it can be also preferred, but there the business should have potential to carry out the main board IPO within the next 3 to 4 years.
Now I would like to add something, Shilpang bhai. I think a recent case, I think just last week only, we have started working on a company which actually already had a private equity offer in hand. Now we are working for the SME IPO for them. So I think that promoter had maybe in the group they have 3 companies. One is already private equity funded. One they are about to take a private equity. And third one we have recently listed on SME. So now practically in one company he has a private equity funding. One company he has a SME IPO funding. So after complete, like we listed just last month only we listed the IPO. And after the kind of response they have got in IPO and the kind of valuation growth they have seen, so he was very sure, boss, I don't want to take another private equity. I am good for IPO only. So maybe again valuation is definitely a question, but yes, we worked out something, and now we are working on SME IPO. So the biggest SME IPO only. So the biggest problem which he was sharing with me, point number 1, when a private equity is coming, he is also taking not less than 20%, right? 20% के नीचे कोई नहीं आएगा. Second thing, they will have a control over the management. उनका खुद का एक डायरेक्टर बोर्ड पे बैठेगा उनका. Third thing, the kind of reporting requirements they have. मंथली बेसिस पे इतनी रिपोर्ट्स वो लोग बनाते हैं कि मैनेजमेंट को कम से कम 7 दिन लगते हैं पूरा बिफोर दे रिपोर्ट इट टू द गाइज. परफॉर्मेंस अगर प्रॉपर नहीं आती, लेट्स से देयर आर सर्टेन एक्चुअल बिजनेस चैलेंजेस कभी आता है, परफॉर्मेंस नहीं आ पाया, सो आई थिंक देयर इन दे हैव लॉट ऑफ क्लॉजेस कि उनका कुछ इक्विटी बढ़ जाता है. तो टर्म शीट आप देखोगे अराउंड 80-90 पेजेस की टर्म शीट होती है विच हैव लॉट ऑफ क्लॉजेस विच इंक्लूड्स ट्रैक अलॉन्ग क्लॉजेस होते हैं. उनकी अगर परफॉर्मेंस नहीं आती तो देयर इक्विटी नॉर्मली स्टेक इंक्रीजेज. इफ द परफॉर्मेंस नॉट कमिंग देन एग्जिट, एज शिल्पांग भाई सेड, इज ऑलवेज अ चैलेंज कि एग्जिट इफ दे आर नॉट एबल टू टेक फ्रॉम द IPO दे कैन ड्रैग यू अलॉन्ग एंड सेल द होल कंपनी. आपके शेयर्स आई थिंक लॉट ऑफ प्रैक्टिकली इफ यू जस्ट रीड, कोई भी प्रमोटर ने अगर टर्म शीट एक बार रीड कर लिया, so I am very sure कि he will, especially Gujarati promoter, he will never go for private equity. So if a company is eligible for SME IPO, ठीक है, थोड़ा valuation भी plus minus है, they are comfortably fine. At least you are owning the company, आप ही company चला रहे हैं, you have an independent board along with that, there is nobody to sitting on your head just to ask about operational intervention, कुछ भी नहीं है. So I think lot of other advantages if you see in SME IPO, if the company is getting the right kind of funding, they should always prefer SME IPO. There are a lot of companies who go for private equity. Basically what I have seen कि ऐसी company जहाँ पे other route of funding is not possible, like startups. Startup के balance sheet देख के no bank will fund them, right? तो उनके पास choice ही नहीं है but then to go to private equity investors. So उनके लिए that all is okay. But if a company has a tangible business model, profitable business, they should explore the SME option also.
So I have followed this path of approaching VCs also when I managed my business for at least 4.5 years. So just, I think most of the point has been covered by Shilpang and Yogesh, but just 2 points. I mean, you need to acknowledge, in the pecking order theory, in fact, first, the best money is definitely consumer. If consumer is financing you by regular sales, one of the best thing. Second is definitely if consumer is not financing, then initially friends and family, the bank loan, and the last now comes up PE and VC and oblique SME funding. I think all points have been covered, but having said so, you need to acknowledge that every VC has a fund limit also. It's not a patient capital. Trust me, VC capital is not a patient capital like public money. Public, if you give them reasonable returns, 12%, 15%, 30% is very high, So many people, because it's a Warren Buffett game, sit and enjoy the fruits after, let's say, 20 years, compound it like law of compounding. But PE capital, unfortunately, not the patient. They have got a fund life of 7 years, max 10 years. Maybe they are investing in your company after 3 years of their fund life, and they have only 7 years runway. So they'll push you very hard. And many a times, founder, which is a grand vision in terms of growing his company in a certain way, they get disturbed. I have seen many founders, they were never wanted to list their company, they have to list because they have to exit, And we have seen some big issue failing miserably, and such a miserable level that, retail investor lost the interest in the IPOs, So VC many times push you very hard, and unfortunately I worked in a company, I work very closely with Blackstone private equity company. They say that, they are very patient capital, but after 3 years, the tick bomb starts, And founders many times feel that pressure here in terms of accepting their unnecessary demands, in terms of putting the board of directors, or making the sales unproportional to their growth plans, or expecting 35% EBITDA, many times not possible, So I think what Yogesh said, if you have got a cash from customer coming diligently, you have got good supplier network, a reasonable product market fit is there, and a reasonable PAT is there, and you have some plan in terms of taking your company, SME IPO is much better than VC companies. Thank you.
I said, again, I would like to intervene here my own experience. On those days, SME IPO was not very flavor, but it got 1.5 times without any. It was exit job de pehle bataya consumer. It was subscribed by my all clients. And today, luckily, they are so happy because their own returns has also gone up. We made some rules that you should not be overboard. That's why I don't know what will happen to the market. But I think there's a fantastic, you have conveyed it. Amazing. I think private equity is more like a flashy word than that is my way of looking. It's my personal opinion. Sir, valuation ka jara throw karo light. Please, how? Because you initiator, he is a merchant maker who underwrites the issue. And when the value goes to NSE, when they approve, indirectly they also approve it. थप्पा तो लगता है NSE का, तो ये बड़ी बात है सर.
Thereafter post IPO.
तो ये because I think everybody बोलते क्या value पे मैं unlock करूँगा मेरे promoter का 25%. That is the most important. मैं मारूसू है. And you know, let me tell you another lighter way. All the fees of the profession is also percentage of the money raised. Am I right? तो we always believe कि 25% में अगर 25 करोड़ मिला तो अपने को 25 लाख मिलेगा, 30 करोड़ होगा तो 30 लाख मिलेगा. Correct? तो को वैल्यूएशन का थोड़ा, आई थिंक दैट इज वन ऑफ द लास्ट क्वेश्चन, कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मगर ये करना है, बट वी हैव सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस.
To convince on the valuation ground is the most crucial thing among entire journey. And as a change mind, as we told, no, that mindset should be also made ready for the valuations also, because most of promoter compare their company with the main board IPO company. They say that, see, this is the valuation, you are offering this valuation for my company, but they need to understand. So there is a gap, always gap between the SME and main board company. And that's why the 3-year market making concept is there, because after the 3-year market making, you can migrate to the main board, and you should see your company as a 3 to 4-year project to reach to that valuation level. So valuation is always, you need to convince the promoters, because otherwise promoters always wish that even my tangible assets value are more than my the IPO pricing. So they are never convinced. They are saying that my immobile property is about 50 crore and you are offering me IPO size of 20 crore only. So how can I convince? So they need to convince as a separate asset class, and that asset class is a ever-growing value, and that value creation needs to be convinced with that asset class. So I think Yogeshji will add as a merchant banker.
Again, there's nothing new. Obviously, the practical, we feel this problem, I think, every day on day basis. So I think...
Thereafter, I will my question.
No problem, sir. Day in, day out, we face this question.
I think this is the most crucial after mindset is changed. What value?
So I think this is one of the major factors जिससे mindset भी मतलब obviously depends कि change होता है नहीं होता है. So definitely there are certain benchmarks available in the market जो publicly anyone can watch. So one benchmark definitely which Shilpang bhai said कि main board company का valuation लोग देख के आते हैं कि ये company का इतना valuation है तो मैं भी same industry में मुझे भी इतना मिलना चाहिए. So that's obviously that thought process is always prevails in the mind of promoter. So how do we do the valuation? थोड़ा सा मैं आपको उसका insight देता हूँ मैं. So when a company comes in, just let's take an example. Let's take a chemical company. Again, chemical में भी बहुत सारे varieties हैं. Let's say a specific chemical company जो हम लोग study कर रहे हैं. And if company उसके जैसी main board companies 4-5 company अगर already listed है, they are at a, let's say, on an average valuation. एक P multiple is a benchmarking normally which we do. So P multiple I'm sure most of us will know, but still I will say P is price to earning ratio. जितनी आपकी अर्निंग है उसका 20 times 25 times आपका वैल्यू है. सो EPS का मल्टीपल्स पे कैलकुलेट होता है. सो दैट इज़ वन बेंचमार्किंग विच इज़ लेट्स से ब्रॉडली पीपल आर फॉलोइंग दैट. दैट्स वन ऑफ द मेजर डेफिनेटली हैज़ अ वेटेज. सो अगर मेन बोर्ड कंपनी वो पर्टिकुलर केमिकल कंपनी में 20-25 का P मल्टीपल अगर चल रहा है ऑन एन एवरेज ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री, नॉट अ स्पेसिफिक कंपनी, 5-7 कंपनी 10 कंपनी का एक एवरेज वैल्यूशन अगर 20-25 P मल्टीपल चलता है. सो एज अ स्मॉल साइज कंपनी, so when we do a valuation, lot of valuers are available here, so we do a discounting थोड़ा सा करते हैं, right? कि let's say liquidity discounting करते हैं, size discounting करते हैं. So main board company जो 20 के 25 के P multiple पे चल रही है, that company is 10-year-old listed company. So they have a track record of 10 years of a consistent sustainable track record, but you are a new company coming to the market, people does not know your company. SME platform पे let's say आपका size छोटा है, so normally ऐसी company को let's say हम लोग 12 to 15 का P multiple normally we offer. So that is one way of benchmarking. Second thing, we always do a book building process. So ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने 12 बोल दिया 15 बोल दिया मेरे को जो समझ में आ गया ऐसा बोल दिया. It's not that way. When the exchange approves the document DRSP, we actually go to investors. We make a investor pitch deck. We know what all investors see. Investor क्या देखते हैं? Point number 1, majority weightage goes to the promoter. See, दो तरह की कंपनी है. एक कंपनी है जो 500 करोड़ का टर्नओवर कर रही है, 4 साल से कंसिस्टेंट 500 करोड़ पे 20 करोड़ रुपए प्रॉफिट कर रही है. अनदर कैटेगरी ऑफ कंपनी जिसका टर्नओवर 50 करोड़ का है बट ईयर ऑन ईयर 30-40% ग्रो कर रहा है. सो इन्वेस्टर्स आर मोर इंटरेस्टेड टू इन्वेस्ट इन द सेकंड कंपनी ऑफ 50 करोड़. सो दे सी द स्केलेबिलिटी ऑफ द कंपनी, व्हाट प्रोडक्ट द कंपनी इज इनटू, व्हाट इज द यूएसपी ऑफ योर कंपनी. कि आपकी इंडस्ट्री में अगर 50 प्लेयर हैं So how does your company differentiates? तो उसका आपको थोड़ा प्रीमियम मिलता है वहाँ पे. If you are let's say like similar kind of products जो बाकी companies भी कर रही है तो वहाँ पे we don't get much value. Then eventually when we do a one-on-one discussion, investors जो अच्छे investors हैं, they have that dedicated research team of that particular chemical का एक research analyst होता है उनके पास. So they ask lot of questions कि आपका working capital cycle क्या है, ROE कितना आ रहा है आपका. So lot of other factors are also there. So eventually when we meet multiple investors, so we get an idea कि okay this is an acceptable range. हो सकता है कि हमने 12 से 15 का रेंज दिया है, तो हो सकता है कि 10 के पी पे भी क्लोज होता है, हो सकता है कि 20 के पी मल्टीपल पे भी इन्वेस्टर रेडी टू पुट इन मनी. लॉट ऑफ केसेस वी हैव सीन कि किसी को हमने 25 करोड़ का आईपीओ बोला है, बट एक्चुअली व्हेन वी गो टू मार्केट हमने उसका 30-32 करोड़ का आईपीओ भी किया है. So I think it's a very subjective topic, but yes, as a benchmarking point of view, we can see the similar kind of companies in already which are listed on the exchange. और उससे थोड़ा सा comparatively we keep some benefit on table for investors. कि day one पे when you want to attract investors towards your company, कि आपकी कंपनी में why should I invest? 10 साल पुरानी कंपनी सेम वैल्यूशन पे मिल रही है जो कि आपसे साइज में बड़ी है, they have a sustainable track record, तो why should I not go and invest in that company rather than investing in your company? So on the day one, at the time of IPO, we always suggest the companies that we should get a comparatively some value on table for investors, and then we should go for IPO. So उससे आपका IPO में demand बढ़ती है, obviously the subscription figures go up, and eventually over the next 2-3 years, by the time company comes on the main board, the valuation of the company will be in the similar range of the other companies. So that is what the track record we have seen.
Great. Please, sir, all the.
I'll just compile. In fact, it is called in VC parlance that valuation is an art, not a science. So I think he covered science, he covered art, because he said there are so many factors to look after, but SME IPO, one main factor which we personally believe is going to change the equation is it becomes more a science because they are underwriting. Merchant bankers are underwriting, a component of it, So they are guaranteeing that, अगर कुछ नहीं हो तो मैं बैठा हूँ, I'll buy it, मैं हूँ ना types. And third thing very important, try to identify the journey of a tech entrepreneur, which is negative EBITDA, dilute his 25, then 10%. By the time they go for IPO, they got 9 to 8% with them, many times less than 6%. Whereas here, even if they're getting diluted by 25%, they got 75% upside. So I think these three things also they need to keep in mind that valuation is an art, not a science. Second, underwriting is here, so he's cutting the check upfront, kind of he's cutting the check. So he's taking a bet upon you,
Yes.
Substitution mein kya hoga, I don't know. My IPO will fail or not, I know. But I'm cutting a check. So he's more concerned about his money and your growth also because then he will make the money. And third is, think you have got 75% with you in years to come, Whereas if you've been taken a PE or VC, at this stage you're only 9 to 10% in your table. So these are three factors I'd like to add.
Great.
You one thing. There are lots of variations between, if there is same company and all the merchant bankers are offering the different valuations, maybe for their investors pool or whatever reason and they have to underwrite. But as a exchange, do you realize that there is a need of valuation governance?
Trust me, we see that number, but don't make any objective remark. The subjectivity is there. We see in many issues for the same companies, but we know underwriting components involved, and merchant banker is quite diligent in his approach. We don't question mark.
Okay.
Because ultimately, we just see one thing, that it should be not out of proportion, so that because public trust is involved. So if something is happening where we think, which is very out of proportion, I mean, out of 90%, 95% cases, we don't react or we don't overreact. But of late, I will say regulator is very diligent, then, the public trust should not be gone. IPO mein kar diya and then they lose the money. So I think by allowing the right quality company, a right merchant banker, and the underwriting component, we try to keep a check on valuation. But otherwise, at this stage, we are not talking about valuation governance. But it's a good idea to take home. Okay?
Correct.
Yeah. Trust me, we do history check for sure. Every 6 months is a history check, and what terms of multiples they are getting, and in terms of their net worth, EBITDA, profit growth, what kind of share price growing, we keep a very close eye on this. But when it comes to the prospectus or underwriting component or valuation, we have certain range, but beyond this we don't see. Because we have a broad range. I will not say that, but it doesn't become a no-go. No. It's not no-go for us.
I think a lot of we have discussed on it. Sir, please tell us something about NSE technology startups. I think it is subject is going to be, as I said, a lot of tech companies are waiting for it. Can you?
So I can for it and against it, but let me talk about IGP. IGP is a platform we call Innovator Growth Platform. So you need to understand what is IGP and what is SME Emerge. A small difference is, in SME Emerge platform, you should have 3-year operational history, and you should have at least 2 years or positive EBITDA, making positive EBITDA. Whereas in case of IGP, we know that there will be tech companies which initially for their growth momentum compromise of the EBITDA because they're acquiring the customer, they are giving the product test, some beta versions also being offered. So there may not be any EBITDA positive. So we don't see that. What we see is basically that company has 10 crore revenue and it is growing we said that 20% growth is there. One criteria is that 10 crore revenue, 20% growth, and some institutional investor, like Yogesh Bhai type institutional investor thing, SEBI registered institutional investor has put money. He has cut a check of at least 25% of his net worth or whatever, So these two criteria, if they match, there's no EBITDA position is there. 10 crore with 20% growth, 10 crore revenue with 20% growth. Some investors put 25% check, which is the EBITDA, the certified SEBI investor. And EBITDA is definitely not a compulsion here. So now coming back to the comparison, I am surprised to suggest you that, I recently met 4 or 5 founders in Bangalore, which are all tech entrepreneur. And most of the people who are matching both. I mean, they're in both the bucket. They can go for IGP or they go for SME IPO, but they choose SME IPO, it's even at a lower valuation, because I think it's more clear platform in terms of the visibility of what is happening, in terms of thematic index return, and in terms of the merchant bank ecosystem. IGP, I'm personally struggling to push because here comes the challenge. I'd like to add one more line, then I'll leave. Bangalore, there are most of the companies are technology companies, but in last 2 years, we're not getting many issues. Reason being, VC has approached them. And VC has shown them the roses, they've shown them the moons. We will give you 50 multiple, and when they then comes the question of cutting the check, they're running away. Because their funding winter happening, But the promoter has already made up a mind that, yaar, मैं 40 multiple से नीचे दूंगा ही नहीं, Now, when SME merchant banker goes, or we approach them and say, yaar, 20-22 का मिल जाएगा. Because market is down, they don't accept it. So that's the problem with tech entrepreneurs, but doesn't mean that we are not focusing upon. There's a huge focus on this. And we are trying to bring more and more promoters on this. I think the daughter fund which you're talking, the state fund, which is going to help us here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I think it means, sir, even the new tech generation people who are more compatible, they require people like Shilpa MB to mentoring them. Am I right? Because of this real valuation, wo dharti pe lane ke liye. I think a lot of places, yes, can add a lot of value. You both are there. Please tell them how they can do their life. And then we can have any questions. Anybody, because they should be benefited out of this seminar.
So again, Gujarat market, I've been working since almost 9 years now, after I got transferred to Gujarat from Bombay. So I think the first connect हमारे लिए is always a chartered accountant. कोई भी कंपनी को IPO में लाना है तो एस शिल्पांग भाई सेट की पहला फ़ोन CA को आता है कि इशू करना है नहीं करना है. So CA plays a very important role. So maybe अब तक normally what we have seen is कि chartered accountants are busy in their day-to-day audit, taxation, GST वाला जो काम है उसमें they are very much busy, engrossed. But I think the times have changed. I'm sure we had a lot of sessions CA Institute में भी कि what all new avenues the chartered accountants can start working on, and eventually we should look at the value addition part to the client. अब तक हम उनके लिए compliances करते हैं which nobody likes to do. As an entrepreneur, अगर honestly if you ask, nobody wants to do all this headache of GST return, किसी को नहीं चाहिए, वो एक team separate कर लिया, they only do that. So as a auditor काम नहीं करना है, as a advisor काम करना है, as a value addition आप कितना उसके लिए कर सकते हैं. So I think equity raising is one of the biggest value addition which we are doing for them. I think 80% I suppose chartered accountants are working for debt funding as well, right? So bank में से loan दिलाना, they have expertise, but eventually everyone should know कि banking criteria में भी debt equity ratio देखते हैं लोग, right? लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विच दे लुक फॉर कि इक्विटी से अगर आपका 20 करोड़ रुपये आ रहा है, सो डेफिनेटली डेट के लिए एलिजिबिलिटी उनका इमीडिएटली बढ़ गया. सो इवेंचुअली दिस इज कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग योर अदर एक्टिविटी. सेकेंड थिंग, आई शेयर माई एक्सपीरियंस, जो आई थिंक शिल्पांग मैंने बताया था कि लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज आर नॉट रेडी टू मीट इन्वेस्टर्स, मतलब उतना उनका कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है. एक प्रमोटर है जो बिजनेस भी चला रहा है, कंप्लाइंसेस भी कर रहा है, मे बी लेबर को भी मैनेज कर रहा है, पेमेंट के लिए भी कॉल कर रहा है सबको. सो आई थिंक SMEs mostly they are very much have a dependency on a single promoter. So point number one, we should advise them for the right board, professional team who is running the show. So as a investor, जब भी हम लोग कंपनी के प्रोमोटर्स को इन्वेस्टर से मिलाते हैं, so there are lot of questions जो प्रोमोटर को खुद के बिजनेस के बारे में ही नहीं पता है. Like just give an example, they don't know what is a working capital cycle. उनको नहीं पता, उनको खाली धंधा करना आता है, माल बेचना आता है उनको, right? So we need a right kind of CFO advice. So I think lot of chartered accountants have started offering CFO services also, जो कि लिस्टिंग के बाद भी उनको हेल्प करती है. So if you see, I think just मतलब for your information, आप कोई भी कॉन कॉल अटेंड करिए या लिस्टिंग के बाद नॉर्मली कॉन कॉल्स रिकॉर्डिंग्स अवेलेबल. So lot of questions which investors ask, उसका आंसर normally SME promoters are not able to give. So before we take them to the FII investor or let's say a QIB investor, we guide them और we train them कि भाई क्या क्वेश्चंस आएंगे, उसका क्या रिप्लाई बनाना है. तो while doing this exercise that normally does not take less than 15-20 days कि उनको उनके बिजनेस के बारे में समझाना है कि आपका बिजनेस में ये क्या चीज़ होता है. सो EBITDA मार्जिन नहीं पता, ऑपरेटिंग मार्जिन, GP लेवल, वो सब उनको मतलब आप इफ यू सी प्रैक्टिकली दे डोंट नो, या पता भी है तो उसका इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं पता कि व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ ROE, कि ROE कैलकुलेट करना आता है बट उसका मीनिंग क्या है दे डोंट नो. So lot of criteria, I think we feel that as a advisor, we should start guiding them, we should bring them to that level कि they are able to face the promoters, face the investors in the market. So listing के बाद obviously this is just a beginning SME. Main board पे आने के बाद में lot of larger mutual funds भी let's say they come on the place, they visit the factory. So it's very important for that. Also I think one more avenue, I think I was talking about the growth of economy in the next 5-10 years. So wherein SME we see again, सर ने बताया कि 35% IRR last 7 years में है. So in next 7 years में I'm sure that things will be much better. So lot of chartered accountants have started taking equity instead of fees. मतलब ये practical cases है, मतलब me and Chetan has went to many places and जहाँ पे chartered accountant is handholding them. पहले बाद में they are taking 1% 2% equity company में ले लिया and they handhold till the journey. So I think if you are confident about the company, even if let's say even if it is not your client, you should meet the promoters, meet the company, and you can also become the part of growth story of the SME. So I think these are the points which I felt should be added.
Very good.
Anything from the Shilpang?
શિલ્પાંગ ભાઈ, તમે કલીગ્સ ને જરા how the
So all the chartered accountants who are basically carrying out the routine practice, audit, income tax, first of all I advise that they must carry out the valuation course. if they will carry out the valuation course, they will understand basically the value creation game, and they will able to guide their clients that how to create the value into the company, and basically they will be able to do better mentoring. And there are many avenues and many things where chartered accountant can play a role pre-IPO and even post-IPO, because even post-IPO they need a consulting CFO, because SME companies doesn't have any capacity to employ the full-time CFO. So there also chartered accountant can play a very important role, and without the chartered accountant no business can grow. So professionals are very important, and where our fraternity member can play a very important role. Thank you.
I would say because this audience is definitely chartered accountant and they understand the number. We did this approach in Odisha also. आप कुछ मत करिए, आपके जो client हैं, those have crossed a certain threshold, जैसे 30 करोड़ revenue हो गया, 12 से 15% का EBITDA आ रहा है, 6 से 7% का पैट आ रहा है. सो लेट्स से 100 करोड़ में उस बंदे ने 15 करोड़ EBITDA बनाया है, 6 से 7 करोड़ की इनकम टैक्स फाइलिंग कर रहा है. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग अ बॉल पार्क नंबर. 100 करोड़ का आप 30 करोड़ भी कर सकते हैं, पर 30 करोड़ इज द थ्रेशोल्ड जो आप देखिए. द मोमेंट एनी एंटरप्रेन्योर क्रॉस द 30 करोड़, गुड EBITDA इन टर्म्स ऑफ 15-16%, 7-8% पैट, डेट इक्विटी 1:1, ये बड़ा पोटेंशियल कैच है आपके लिए. द पोटेंशियल कैच ऑफ यू कि दिस गाय आई कैन स्पीक अबाउट SME, Because you will see the number later on. But ये 4 criteria अपने दिमाग में कि जिस बंदे ने कोई भी 30 crore करा ना, अब उसको कहो, yeah, you are SME eligible, you know, you are making reasonable EDIPA, okay kind of PAT, debt equity भी ज़्यादा नहीं है, working cycle ठीक लग रहा है आपका, ये तो नंबर आपको पता ही है, बाकी सब वैल्यूशन तो भूल जाइए आप. But if you know this 4-5 numbers, I think they are a potential catch for you to approach him, or you know, you think about equity taking yourself and you know start. This is my suggestion.
I think sir, आपने तो golden formula बता दिया. Seriously, I think that is very simple way you have made it understand how you can be participant of the India growth story as well as your own growth story.
So in fact, विकास भाई से कभी-कभी लेट्स से मजाक में हम लोग बात करते हैं कि इतने सीए लोग now they have started investing in SME companies कि मैंने बोला कि एक सीए लोगों का एक ऐप बना देते हैं अपने साथ. So let's be part of investment journey as well.
Yeah, I think it will be definitely India growth story because people has to comply, they will pay more tax, country will get more transparent and all. Anyway, I think any questions from anybody? We have, yeah, please.
People who have invested over a period of time, right? But I'm sure slowly and gradually, 3 years down the line, they might be also. So how it is, and it may not be as transparent as the.
I think
Yogesh or Shilpang, anybody can take it.
पहली बात तो you need to understand the lot size only 1 lakh rupees is not less than that. Unlike main IPO, unlike main board IPO जहाँ 15,000 का lot size होता है यहाँ and every retail can participate. Here the lot size is bigger because we only want informed investor. So this differentiation is already there. और trading होती है, liquidity थोड़ी कम होती है पर शेयर बिकते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कई बार तो शेयर कोई बेचना भी नहीं चाहता, trust me. मतलब काफ़ी अच्छा होल्ड करके रखते हैं. ट्रेडिंग होती है तो आप जाके बेच सकते हैं. Could I answer your question? ट्रेडिंग होती है, बिक जाते हैं शेयर.
No.
नहीं, किसने कह दिया आपसे? मैं वही तो कहना चाहता हूँ. You'll be surprised when I show the history to you, you know. एक साल में 3 times बढ़ा है, 4 times बढ़ा है. लोग बेचते ही नहीं है. मैं तो उल्टा हो गया है. Reverse now happening. So very few issues. आपको ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा. So when I meet VC, मैंने कहा VC भाई आप लोग का धंधा खाएंगे ये लोग. मैं आपको एग्जांपल दे सकता हूँ. You know the SME IPO. So I have an entrepreneur. What is the entrepreneurship? क्या बोलते हैं? Now who's an entrepreneur? मैं आपको उस definition से पूरा समझा देता हूँ. Entrepreneur is a person who follow an uncharted path to execute a vision which he's not sure कि execute हो पाएगी नहीं, कि make a return on it. But he's taking, so 3 factors there: uncharted path, execution of vision which nobody has followed so far or done so far, or third, high risk. ये entrepreneur है भाई. ठीक है. Now when you're putting in SME, this all 3 risks are gone. His vision is execution. He's making money, you know, and he's no more uncharted path. He has created 2 factories, has subscriber base. So entrepreneur तो खत्म हो गई अब तो पैसा बनाने का टाइम आ गया है. You know, and so VC is good for entrepreneur, but for SME I think public money. So public को पता होता है. When that's why I put informed investor. They know कि 1 लाख डालूंगा. That's why people लोग मुझसे और कोई बात ही नहीं करते आजकल. रिलायंस में डालूं, अदानी में कोई नहीं पूछता सर SME का IPO कैसे मिलेगा मुझे. Nobody sell. So I'm saying trading is easy, but somebody should be ready to sell. And you'd like to add here?
I think sir rightly said. I think initial period में that was the issue. I can understand liquidity कम रहता, volume कम होता था. But nowadays if you see, average liquidity of any SME stock has increased at least 10x times as compared to the previous 5 years. So last 2-3 साल में that has not been a challenge. In fact, sir has rightly said कि हमारे पास में buyers आते हैं, sellers नहीं आते हैं. So sellers को again bulk deal, block deals भी होता है market में. Lot of buyers are coming, having interest. So I think liquidity is sufficient available now. पहले ये issue रहता था. You were right, maybe शायद 5 साल पहले that was an issue. But nowadays you don't see any issue in these kind of companies.
I'll make you one more thing, because liquidity is always at a price. Let me tell you, okay? That's why when you invested 1 lakh rupees, you should get more than that. But for some data, what he has given is 37% IRR of 147 companies of 7 years. Their chances of losing money is, I think, is minimal. Am I right? It is an amazing number. Please, any other question? I think we had very detailed discussions mostly. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay, please.
Sir, I just want to ask one question.
Okay, please, sorry. Sorry.
Sir, if after 3 years, if any company do not want to migrate to the main board, so is there any options could be available in the future that to reduce the lot size, so to increase the liquidity into this company? Suppose if any company wants to remain as SMEs only, they don't feel that I am capable to migrate to the main board. So what could be the options for those companies to remain in the SMEs and to increase the liquidity?
So it's a very interesting question. As on date, lot size reduction is not a probability or any chance as on date. But I cannot talk about future because market is going multiple bound, and there's an exponential growth. So one thing which we are thinking about is at this stage, the way SEBI defines SME is, once they have crossed, their, you can say paid up capital or their net worth or their, beyond 25 crore, they have to move to main board. Seeing the lot of traction and lot of money coming in this platform, we are changing this 25 crore to 50 crore. So you will get the larger pay. Now coming back to your question, I know you are wanting to liquidity. I think you are answering his question that you like to be in the main. And SME board where you don't have intention to go to main board because you don't need money, right? You got enough visibility. At this stage, we are not talking about reducing lot size, but seeing the visibility, traction, more and more participant, in the future, I think we can think about that. At this stage, it's always to take a feedback, nothing beyond it. Yeah.
So also I think the criteria came in 2012. So वो time का 1 lakh रुपए की value और I'm sure कि that 1 lakh रुपए की value obviously now वो time पे 1 lakh रुपए बहुत बड़ा लगता था, but I think nowadays retail investor putting 50 lakh application nowadays in the IPO.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Very good show, Ashish ji. Thank you.
Please be seated for 2 minutes, please. Okay. Yeah. So, first of all, thank you very much, all the panelists, for the wonderful deliberation and the discussions that we had, which has really been enriching, I would say. Personally, though, I used to take benefit from Yogesh bhai many a times and Silpang bhai also. We discuss a lot on all these things. But today, yes, with all the panelists, Ahuja sir, Shilpang bhai, Yogesh bhai, Ashish bhai, we had a great deliberations. And it's all about like penny wise, pound foolish, I would say. People used to think of the compliance cost or all these things. But really when we see the value unlocking, the kind of growth, these things are there. But we need to convince our clients, we need to, I would say, nurture them, the thought process, the mindset. These are all actually being done by the chartered accountants when the client comes to them. Many a time we as a chartered accountants, we suggest our clients, કે સાહેબ તમારું ટર્નઓવર બહુ વધી જશે તો આ તકલીફ પડશે તે પડશે. You split your company into 3, you make 3 companies, you make 4 companies, or taxation would be. So see, this happens. This is the practical mindset, and especially in the Mufasil areas, I would say. You move to the bigger cities, the things are different, but when we go to the smaller areas, these are the mindsets. So once I was in a big conference of some industrialists from Gujarat, that was in the Statue of Unity, and the president of that, he was cursing the chartered accountants for that particular thing. That you need to guide us in such a way that how we can multiply our income so that eventually everybody in the ecosystem grows. So that is where we also need to change our mindset to some extent, I would say. We need to just visualize how our client can grow big. If our client grows big, certainly we are going to grow big. Undoubtedly, there are some other challenges as well. Many a time when the client goes too big, then that goes from the normal pumps to the big fours. So these are the challenges that everybody, this is all in lighter note because we all are the family sitting over here. Yeah, this actually I wanted to say, Shilpang bhai, while I was sitting over here, each of us must ensure that apne peer review audit thai jai. The reason being, today we may not have any such client with us, but we never know when the client would come. And જ્યારે કરવા માટે જઈએ ત્યારે 3, 4, 5 મહિના થઈ જાય, and we may lose that opportunity. So I always say that we should have all the arsenals MO with us in our this. But જ્યારે ફાયર કરવાનો હોય ત્યારે એમોજ ના હોય તો શું કરવાનું? So better we should all be well prepared with that. and we all should get peer reviewed, and there is no harm in getting your firm as a peer reviewed. There is a good thing only, and the cost is also too less, and one of our professional colleague would only be coming and doing the peer review audit, wherein he would be doing great value addition to us. The systems where we are lacking, all these will also be taken care of. So પ્લીઝ આજે કોઈ ઓડિટ જતી બી રહેશે તો કદાચ 2 લાખ રૂપિયા ફીસ વર્ષની લેસ થશે, બટ ઇફ વી આર હેન્ડ હોલ્ડિંગ ધ ક્લાયન્ટ, ઇફ વી આર there as a partner in his growth, I am sure we are going to make much more than what we are getting into the audit. So let us all be having that kind of mindset, and we can help our client grow, and simultaneously we also grow. Thank you very much for the patient hearing, and thank you all the panelists. Thanks a lot.